ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first episode of Clef Notes. We're going to begin our journey into the study of music theory by starting with the playing field of music theory, and that is musical notation. Particularly, we're going to focus on Western musical notation, as that's probably going to be the most common notation that you are going to see in your studies of music, or just learning and playing music because you enjoy it. So we're going to start right around the year 800 AD, which is some of the earliest examples that we have are pre-1000 AD, at least in terms of written down music. Now back in that time, a lot of the music that you see, or at least that we have today, was sung music. It was vocal music. It was music that was sung to some particular text. Now, they may have had instrumental music, but we unfortunately don't have a lot of that particular style and choice of music. So a lot of stuff that we see is stuff that is sung. So we have a set of pitches, and we'll have some kind of text. Now, in this first example number 1 that you see in front of you, we have a series of notes. So our notes are these round circular things here. So this is a note, this is a note, this is a note, all the way to this 5th pitch. So these are all notes. They're musical pitches. This is what you're going to sing, this is what you're going to play. Then we have some kind of text, and our text is the word Gloria. So there are our 3 syllables of Gloria. Very popular choice for the religious texts of the day. Now the reason I have this all broken up is that this is what you might see if you're maybe singing liturgy at that point in time in the church. You may have seen the word Gloria, but it's not going to be just one word. It's going to be broken up across a set of notes, which is why we have these little arrows. These black arrows are here to show you the correspondence between each syllable and a note. So if in this case, glo goes to this first note, re goes to the second note, ah goes to the third note, but it stretches to the last 2 notes of our musical examples. So ah actually lasts for 3 different pitches. Now, back in the day, of course, they didn't have all these arrows telling you where everything was situated, but the arrows serve as a demonstration as to how you may have read this music and what you're thinking about. Then, I'm going to be singing the first syllable of Gloria to this first note, etc., until we finish up with this 5th note. Now, there are terms and different phrases you can use to describe this, but we're not going to get too much terminology. We're just going to look at what this stuff means. Unfortunately, we have an issue already. The first issue being we don't know what our starting pitch is. So we don't know what this idea of glow actually is. I mean, is this some sort of is this C natural? Is this F sharp? What exactly is it? We're going to put a little question mark up here. And I mean, that question extends for all 5 of our notes. We don't know what the second note is. We don't know what its value is. If you look at a piano, a keyboard, and you see all the different keys, we don't have no idea where we are starting. We just have some kind of pitch hanging out here in space. Well, that first pitch might be given to us if we have perhaps some sort of choral director. Maybe it's a nun, or maybe another monk that we have leading the choir, if you will, and he may give us that first pitch, but we don't really know what that pitch actually should be. So if we are even from church service to church service, this first pitch could change depending on what the leader of the choir is thinking. They might be thinking, I think I'll start here in a nice low pitch, or they might decide, I want a nice high pitch. They're going to do something. The other issue we have is we don't know what the relationship between this first note and the second note actually is. Is this a C natural, and then this is a G natural above it? Are we on E natural, going all the way up to an octave above? We don't know how high or low this second pitch, this third pitch, fourth, fifth, etc. is in relation to our first pitch. So that brings us down to example number 2. Now here, in our second example, example 2, we have to thank a particular individual, Guido de Arezzo, who decided that he actually wanted to know what pitches he was singing. And he wanted to give some sort of standard so that people knew what exactly it was they were singing and how they're supposed to do it. Now, again, there's a lot more to the story. We're looking at a very simplified version. But his idea was simply to do exactly the same thing everyone else had done, which is have these circles here that are our notes and some kind of text. Let's see here, glory, and then across all the way. Okay, so far so good. Everything's the same. We have these round circles. We have these this word gloria broken down to syllables. But then we have all these lines. What exactly are these lines? Well, eventually we'll get into what these are called, but they are called ledger lines. That's not something you need to hold on to now. We'll cover in another video. But Guido de Arezzo's contribution here is simply adding lines. These lines are relatively equally spaced. They're a little bit off here in our example, but in many cases, or at least for practical purposes, we can consider these as equally spaced. And Guido de Arezzo basically uses this idea from mathematics, similar to a number line, where if you had a number line, let's draw that out. You had a number line, and you have the number 0 right here. And then you have something equally spaced here to the right, to the left, back over, right, left. And you might have, let's say, so this is 0, and then this might be -2, and this might be, let's call that -1, and then here we have +1, +2. Okay, what does this have to do with music? Well, the idea is of the number line, you've got some value, and then you have equal spacings to other values. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And -1, -2, -3. Well, the same thing works here with our musical example here, example number 2. We have a set of lines that are equally spaced. If you count the number of spaces between notes, you can get an exact measurement between whatever your first note is and whatever the next note is, and then relation between the next second note, your third note, third to fourth note, etc. In other words, you want a point or frame of reference. You want to be able to tell, I have a certain pitch here to start with. Where do I go from here? Am I going up? How far or how high in frequency and pitch do I sing? How low do I sing? Where am I going? And these lines act as that guide. They provide you with that reference. It's no longer, I'm going from glow to reeds and then trying to figure out some approximate jump. As one of my professors would call this. He would call it an approximatura. It's not original to me. That is original to my professor. But in this case, with all these lines, we don't have that room for approximaturas. We know exactly what our pitches are. We're starting at this pitch on the second line from the bottom, and we're going up to this top space. And we're going to third line from the bottom, top space, and then down to our second space. All we really have to do now is, if we're leading a choir, we literally only have to give a name to this first pitch. And then the rest of it just acts like a scale, which again we will look at in greater depth. But if I, for example, were to give this the value of G, we'll say natural, I'm going to abbreviate there NAT. If we have this particular note as G natural, then we know that this note, because of our scalar property, will be C natural. We go down to B, back up to C, down to A. And we'll look at this more in depth in a second video. But the main point in all of this is that by adding ledger lines, we now have an exact means of measuring a distance between pitches. And this makes all the difference now. For anyone reading music, anyone writing music, not only now do you have a way of knowing your pitch, but you can hand this music to another monk or another nun, and they can take this, give it to their choir, and it will sound exactly the same, or at least it's nearly the same in terms of pitch. So thank you for watching this first video. In our second video, we're going to cover more about ledger lines and notation. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.